Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Junk Baller Podcast. My name is Michael Greenwood, and I'm here with my good friend, as always, Kevin Otterbein. Kevin, how you doing?
Keeping calm.
Keeping calm?
But not playing Ultimate right now.
Oh, yeah. So, Kev, right before, am I a tad loud? I feel like I can hear my echo just a tad.
You're always a bit loud.
Yeah, I am a little bit loud. You can just turn us down, people, if you'd like. I think we're okay. I don't think we need to adjust. Anyway, Kev, right before we got on the podcast, he was wearing a navy blue shirt, and he was just like, I got to change. I have to figure out a way to just feel like I'm not always wearing navy blue, and I wear the same thing. I mean, to be fair, you wear the Yankee shirt, and then you have another navy blue shirt, or a couple of navy blue shirts. It's not like you're wearing the same shirt all the time. Also, there's no way that anyone notices if you wore the same thing twice.
Well, I think it's just subconsciously.
Yeah.
I'm always wearing Yankees colors.
Well, that's fine. It's a baseball podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to always wear something baseball related when I'm recording now. I feel like I should. And right now we had the last episode, we talked about MLB uniforms, and I don't have any baseball uniforms that are not Phillies related until now. When I went on eBay and I bought 2 jerseys that were brand new, and I didn't even spend over $100 on them total. I bought a USA Mike Trout jersey, a blue one, because I've always wanted a blue one. The white ones were fine, but right now I'm wearing the Mike Trout USA Team USA jersey, and I really like it. I think it's pretty nice. It's pretty simple, but not too flashy, but still got enough style. And then I bought a Ohtani All-Star jersey when it was in LA. It was like they're like the dark gray ones with the gold lettering. That was only like $35, brand new. Like they're the Nike nice, like they're not authentic ones. They're the like replica, but they're original. They go for like $150. They're nice.
Yeah. They're okay.
What, the jerseys?
The jerseys, the All-Star game jerseys.
Oh yeah, no, I'm more talking about the material.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree they're not the best. I just like how the gold and gray looks a little bit with it.
I think they should have gone more black.
Yeah,
I think with the jersey.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that would have been better.
But yeah, good deal.
Yeah, I feel like I needed to have something to, if I were to go to a game that wasn't Phillies related, I could wear a jersey that people would be like, oh, sweet, I don't have to wear a Phillies jersey type thing. I was like, why is a Phillies fan here? If I wear a Trout jersey or a Ohtani, All-Star jersey, they'd be like, oh, that's actually a cool jersey, I'm not going to stick out like the Miami Marlins guy behind home plate wearing the Marlins stuff at Yankee Stadium, but...
or break the bank buying a Dodgers Ohtani jersey.
Yeah, with the new jerseys that they... Oh, God.
Yeah.
I saw something else. The arch of lettering is like... It's much more of like an actual like rainbow arch instead of just like a little bit of a slant. Yeah. It looks like youth like baseball jerseys. Like, how Jared Saltimaki is like name? It looks like that, but just smaller. Oh God, the new jerseys are awful. I'm sorry, people. The new template is bad. But yeah, not a ton has happened in free agency.
Of course,
since we've Corbin Burns got traded. That was the biggest news so far. Yes. And the Orioles got sold, which is bad for the Yankees, but good for baseball and good for the Orioles.
It's good for the Orioles.
Yeah. Because was Corbin Burns on your guys' market?
Not really.
Or on your radar? No?
He should have been.
Yeah, he should have been.
Well, I feel like the Yankees were being too conservative and thinking that they would have to break the bank for Corbin Burns or like give up like a bunch of players for him, but the Orioles really didn't give up all that much to get this guy.
Not even a top 100 prospect.
No.
They didn't give up that's incredible. I mean, to be fair, it's only 1 year of Corbin Burns, but when you have the Orioles where they are, they're hot. They're right there. And if they have pitching and they can go get just a couple more just pieces, why not? Like, yeah. Also, I feel bad for Rhys Hoskins in Milwaukee. He signed a 2-year deal. Dude, like, all right, yeah, I'm here to compete. The Brewers are good. They trade Corbin Burns. Adames is apparently, I heard Saul today, Adames is on the trading block. I'm like, oh my goodness, Rhys, like, I just feel bad for the guy. So yeah, nothing really too big in terms of baseball news.
No.
Still some free agents left. Bellinger hasn't been signed. Chapman hasn't been signed.
We talked about Hader, right?
Yeah, we talked about Hader a little bit. Montgomery still hasn't been signed. Snell hasn't been signed. So still a lot of players not to have been signed. And we are 10 days away from pitchers and catchers. Or 9 days. Let's see. It's how many days till?
It's 10 days.
Is it 10 days? Okay.
I think February 14th is the Yankees one.
I don't, same here. I just don't know how to count like that. I don't know how to count people. I don't know how to count necessarily because technically it's 9 days from today. So if I don't count today. It's 9 days. Like tomorrow's 1, Tuesday is 2 type thing.
Why just say 10 days?
I don't know.
Because make it easier for yourself.
I make everything
you're
too
complicated.
I'm a textbok overthinker, as Kevin Malone would say. So yeah, nothing crazy in terms of stuff going on in MLB. The Caribbean series is going on. Have you seen anything with that?
No.
All I know is that Molina's managing Puerto Rico. That's all I know.
Is there anything going on in that Saudi league? Like the Saudi Arabian League? Or weren't they doing something out there?
They were.
Like Cologne and Cano were out there?
So with Didi. So is
Yeah.
Didi. No, I haven't seen anything because Didi's playing the Caribbean season because I saw him get a hit or something. But no, I haven't heard anything. I actually had a friend go out to the UAB, and I almost was like, go to a game. But I don't think she had time. So, yeah, nothing folks. Baseball news has kind of been slow this offseason when it shouldn't have been with Ohtani and the level of talent with people coming from Japan with all of them. And
thank goodness for Ohtani
Yeah.
and Yamamoto. If it wasn't for those two, there'd be like almost nothing to discuss.
Yeah, then there are a couple of rule changes that they made that we'll probably discuss when we get closer.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing crazy. So, all right, let's get started with a fun fact. I have actually a couple fun facts for you all. And this is because last week Kev probably outdid himself with probably the most fun segment we've ever had on the fun fact section because he talked about the minor league team. What was the minor league team? What was it again?
The Brooklyn Cyclones.
The Brooklyn Cyclones with the 7th inning stretch marks for pregnant women.
Pregnancy night.
Yeah, pregnancy night. And if you gave birth to during the game, you get free tickets and free tickets if you name your son or daughter Brooklyn or Cy. So I thought that was incredible. I probably will not be able to top it, but I thought it'd be cool to bring up more than just one fact, given kind of just going off of what you did. So
show off.
Not show. No. I think because I think this is kind of interesting what I'm about to share. I found this stuff out back in 2022 when I went to the Hall of Fame for the first time, and there were some facts that I had never known about baseball when it first started. And when it was right at the beginning when you're taking the tour because they have 3 levels to the Hall of Fame. Have you been?
Yes.
Yeah. Like right at the beginning, they have like the very beginning history and all like the awful equipment and awful just uniforms, all that type of stuff. And it was really interesting. But I wanted to share with you all some of the terms that first started because we're used to the terms today with just like strikeout, all that type of stuff, what it is today. But back in the day when it first started in the 1850s and 1860s, it was much different. For instance, calling the batter a striker was a thing until the early 1860s. Pop fly, how we call pop fly today, that was called a skyrocket until the 1860s. A skyrocket. A skyrocket, correct. And because there really wasn't like home field advantage at the early on, they had a coin toss at the beginning to decide who was hitting or in the field first.
Really?
Yeah. That one was interesting. But this is my favorite one. It's not the last one I'll share, but this is my favorite one. A fair ball that was caught on the bound, which means a catch made after one bounce, was legal until 1865. So if you get, say if there's a pop-up and it drops, or a fly ball and it drops, and then you catch it on the first bounce, the guy's out. Like, what? I don't know why that would cause people to be like, oh yeah, he caught in the first one, he's out. It dropped. What? I remember showing it to my dad. He's like, what the heck? This doesn't make any sense.
No.
So Southpaws started in 1858. That was actually something that's still relevant today.
Wait, southpaws like as in left-handed pitchers?
Left-handed pitcher, yeah.
It was illegal before that?
No. It became like left-handers were dubbed southpaws as early as 1858.
Okay, that's what you mean. All
yeah,
right.
sorry.
All right.
So I was like, all right, that's when it's still relevant today. Dropped from the language of the game by the early 1860s, hands lost, which were considered outs.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, so a hand was an out?
Yeah.
Or no, wait, hands lost is an out.
Yeah, hands lost were out.
Hands
whether
lost.
made as a batter or as a base runner.
So is a hand when you get on base then? Because if the hand is lost, that's an out. But if you gain a hand, that means you're on the bases.
All right, so this is word for word. Dropped from the language of the game by the early 1860s, hands lost in quotations were outs. So technically, if there were, I guess if you don't have, if
you don't have hands,
you don't have hand. I guess, yeah. And it was abbreviated HL. So that's another thing. Like instead of just outs, or because it's considered putouts, technically, right? Yeah. But there's also, I don't know. Anyway, that was interesting. And then by the late 1850s, the position called shortstop was called short or short field. So that was by the late 1850s, but it's now known as shortstop.
And why is it shortstop now?
It didn't say. So if you know, let us know. Why is it called shortstop? Why is it called short? Why was it called short field? Like, is it just they're like, oh yeah, we need another position, and it's not in the outfield, but it's short?
Well, were the shortstops or the short fields, as you call it, would they be positioned in a different place than they are now?
I don't think so. No, I think it's
so they still would in between second and third.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So, I don't know, but that was if you have not been to the Hall of Fame, go there.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic experience. You could spend a week there and still not learn everything there.
Yeah, I need to go back just to take my time, I think, because I went years ago. It was like, wow, 14 years ago, at this point, and went with my church youth group because we were doing a work trip out there in New York, and we were like, we're 2 hours away.
Yeah.
Might as well go visit it. And we kind of just rushed through it because we didn't have a ton of time.
Yeah.
And not everybody there was like a baseball person.
Yeah.
So I really want to take the time to spend a couple days there, not just at the Hall of Fame, but also around Cooperstown in that area.
I agree. I also was in a similar boat when I went. My nephew was with me, and he was 8 at the time, 7 or 8. And you could just tell that he just wanted to go to the next thing, with my dad and my older brother. But my dad and I were kind of like doing our own thing, just kind of taking our time with stuff. And then my nephew would be with my brother and go and be like, all right. So we had to hurry it up a little bit for that. But my dad and I both agreed that we could be here for a very long time and just spend the entire weekend or whatever, just learning all this stuff. But highly recommend going to the Baseball Hall of Fame if you haven't. But so yeah, that's our fun fact for today. And it is also relevant because today we are talking about the Hall of Fame. We were talking about a couple weeks ago. It was about 2 weeks ago now. There were 3 players selected to the Hall of Fame in the 2024 ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Who were they, Kev? Who were they again?
I was hoping you'd know.
Oh, that's on me to know? Okay. All right.
Yeah, you're the one that...
Oh, yeah. Let's see. So it was this guy named Adrian Beltre, this guy named Joe Mauer, and this guy named Todd Helton. I think that's it, right? Did I get it right?
I think you're missing Kei Agawa and Jonathan Papelbon in that.
Jonathan Papelpoopy. That's what Ike Reese calls him on sports radio. And also Jim Leland. I can't forget Jim Leland, the manager.
The manager, Jim Leland.
But no, all jokes aside, Adrian Beltre, completely deserving. Got 95% of the ballot?
95.1% of the ballot.
So definitely deserving. First time on the ballot. Easy win. Receiving 79.7% of the vote on his 6th year on the ballot. Todd Helton got in. I didn't realize it was his 6th year on the ballot. He started off pretty it increased each year, which is fair. And now that I think about it, we can get into it more, but that Helton was kind of the guy that I thought of that was possibly going to get in that maybe shouldn't get in right now. But we can get into that more. And then first year on the ballot, and now the youngest Hall of Famer, Joe Mauer, with 76.1% of the vote. He got in by 5 votes, or 4 or 5 votes. So all 3 of those guys are now in Cooperstown, New York, for the rest of their lives and baseball history. And Kev, I want to get your gut reaction. What are your thoughts on those 3?
Okay.
Gut reaction. So, like, it's got to come from your gut.
I'll start with Beltre,
Okay,
who I think is the easy one. He deserves it. He's the one with the longevity. He played for 20 years, 21 years, something like that. Not all for the same team, but I mean, I think when I think of him, I think of him with Texas because that's really when he was at the best.
Mm-hmm. It's 21 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Solid hitter. I feel like he was a late bloomer.
Absolutely, he was.
Because like he started with the Dodgers and the Mariners and he played for the Red Sox for a year, and I wouldn't have hardly known about the guy, give or take a few seasons before that.
Yeah.
He didn't do all that much. Then all he did, he went to Texas, and then boom, he became this, Silver Slugger, Gold Glove third baseman.
Yeah. So he came up to the league at 19 with the Dodgers. And then he didn't get an all-star appearance until he was 31 with Boston. Mind you, he did win a couple of Gold Gloves and was second in MVP voting in 2004 with batting .334, 1,000 OPS, 48 homers, and 121 RBIs. But he did not make the all-star team that year.
That was probably the second half of the year that he really took off. And like I'm looking at his stats now, it's like that was really an anomaly in the early part of his career because it's like 240, 257, 334, 255, 260. It's like Brady Anderson, right? So because he had 23 home runs the year before, then 48, and then dropped back down to 19.
Yeah. Also doing it in Dodger Stadium too. That's also impressive. And then he went to Seattle and was okay in Seattle. Like he had an OPS over 800 once, but then nothing crazy. 260, 270 hitter, and then 1 year in Boston. He was a Silver Slugger, All-Star, had 28 homers, 102 RBIs, 321 batting average. After that he was pretty good, pretty consistent, pretty close to almost a 300 hitter every year with Texas. Like his Texas numbers, 304 batting average, 865 OPS and 199 home runs, 199 home runs and 699 RBIs. He couldn't just get one more home run to make it 200 and 700 RBIs. But he's going in as a Texas Ranger.
Yes, which makes sense.
Which is pretty. He spent most of his year there, 8 years with Texas, 7 years with the Dodgers. But everyone knows him as a Ranger, and 3,000 hits. It's pretty remarkable just how much of a late bloomer he was. But
and was stellar in the World Series against St. Louis. A series which
they should have won.
They should have won for a variety of reasons, as we know. Nelson Cruz.
Yes,
but he had 300 in that World Series.
Yeah,
with 2 home runs. He wasn't the reason why they lost.
Yeah, that was. I mean, they ran into the Cardinals, who were just hot. And I know full well because we lost to the Phillies lost to them, and But yeah, Adrian Beltre, easy. I don't think anyone has any rhyme or reason to say he's not a Hall of Famer. Yeah. Easy.
I'll go with the second easiest one, and that's Mauer.
Correct.
I'll save Helton for last, and we'll get into that.
Yeah,
but you don't see a lot of catchers like Mauer these days. Someone who hits 365. as a catcher. I mean, anyone hitting that now is crazy. And 306 for his career.
Yeah. So do you know the stat that blew me away that I told Taylor the other day that I didn't realize?
No.
There are 7 career batting titles for catchers. He has 3 of them.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Mm-hmm. He has 3 of the 7 batting titles that are won by catchers.
Yeah.
That it's just incredible.
And you look at like his comparable numbers with other catchers, you see like Roy Campanella in that conversation, Johnny Bench.
Yeah.
Like just like all these legendary catchers. And I mean, I think the numbers and his conduct said it.
Yeah.
Just the way he played.
That MVP year definitely was a little bit of an anomaly with just the power numbers, because he only his MVP year, he batted .365 with an OPS over 1,000, 28 homers, 96 RBIs. He never had over 100 RBIs for his career, and that was the only time he hit over 20 home runs, let alone hit over 13. His career high in other years was 13. So he was never really known as a power hitter. No. He was just known as a great hitter.
Yes.
He had over 2,000 hits, which is pretty good. And he definitely started to tail off as a catcher, and as he started having, I think, knee issues. And did he have concussion, or was that Morneau? I think Morneau had concussions. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if Mauer did. But yeah, Mauer, consistent, good hitter. And also stand-up guy. He was never in the any trouble or anything. Always kind of, just a good guy. Also just loyal to. He grew up in St. Paul. So, or close to St. Paul. So being drafted by Minnesota, staying with them his entire career, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good story for MLB. So yeah, that was, I don't have any rhyme or reason to say Joe Mauer is not a Hall of Famer. I would say that maybe he might not have been deserving of like a first ballot, maybe. Because we grew up with him as he came in the league in 2004. We always knew him. He was on MLB The Show twice. That's the only player to do that. So we always viewed him as like he's definitely the best catcher in the league for a decent amount of time. So that's probably why we view him as so good. But I also am like, is he a first ballot? I feel like he's kind of on that like first ballot, second ballot type guy, just because he didn't have the power numbers, but he was still a 300 hitter. Like Taylor's going to be angry at me just because I said that, but
I'm going to save my judgment for that because I do want to talk about how the voting for the Hall of Famers has changed, and I think that affects that question.
Okay, yeah. I'm not saying people that Joe Mauer is not a Hall of Famer. He is deserving. He only got in by 4 or 5 votes, as I said earlier, and yeah, I think that he's on the verge of being first ballot, second ballot type guy, which the voting shows. So, just wanted to get that off. So,
lastly is Helton, similar to Mauer in that he spent his entire career with one team. Loyal guy, didn't go anywhere. He's a strange one to me.
Strange?
Yeah.
Is that because he was the starting quarterback ahead of Peyton Manning at Tennessee? Did you know that?
I did know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's very strange.
It's pretty nuts. He had an option to go into the NFL, I believe.
Yeah,
but chose baseball.
Yeah, I feel like he's a similar guy. He's one of those guys that like was at the top of his game for a few years and then was kind of just good.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say he was like bad.
No.
I mean, you look at his numbers for when he was at the top of this game, like the 372 average he had in 2000, kind of numbers with 42 home runs, 147 RBIs.
How did he finish 5th in MVP that year?
Probably Barry Bonds, or no, Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent won the MVP that year.
Jeff Kent won the MVP?
He had 33 home runs, 125 RBIs, a 334 average.
Okay, Todd Helton led the league in WAR at 8.9.
Yeah.
He led the league in RBIs, hits, average. Okay, he would have won if it was modern. If he was voting this year, he would have won.
And probably if he wasn't in Colorado either. Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds were playing in San Francisco.
And that was when...
That's when they won 100 games that year.
They weren't in the World Series that year. They were in the World Series next year, correct?
No, 2 years after.
Yeah,
they lost to the Mets in 2000. Yeah. That was an upset.
That's a joke, the Mets. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Gosh. I mean, that was actually, holy crap. There was a lot of guys that finished with over 1,000 OPS on that. I mean, kind of was in the era of steroids with, you had Sosa,
I think Jim
Bonds.
Edmonds is there.
Yeah, was Edmonds on the Mitchell report?
I don't know if he was.
Yeah. Edmonds is an interesting case because he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's I don't know. He has the same pretty much WAR as it's pretty similar numbers to Helton, and he also has the World Series. So I don't know. I think Edmonds is kind of on that Hall of Very Good, close to. I think. Sorry, continue.
I was just gonna say I agree. The reason why he gets in, I think, is because he got on base a lot.
Helton?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
He got a lot of walks. He got a lot of hits. His OPS career was 953 for his career.
Yep.
In that 2000 season he had, his OPS was 1.162.
Not 1.0, 1.1.
And he only struck out 100 times once in his career. He didn't strike out very much.
No.
He made contact.
Yep, he was a good player. He was a good player. It's I don't think that Helton, I think it's kind of with where he got in the 6th year, he had to go up against Pujols too with the All-Star appearances and competing against that once Pujols came in the league in 2000, I believe. Or 2000.
Pujols came out around 2000.
Yeah. So the fact that he was still an All-Star from 2000, 2004, so 5 years of being an All-Star, like, that's pretty impressive. And I think that he started to, once he got into his 30s, it happens with every guy going into his 30s, like, just everything just gets a little bit tougher. But he's definitely a Hall of Fame. I loved him when he was with Colorado early on growing up, because I'm like, all right, he's a left-handed hitter. Sometimes you wear the high socks. I was always a fan of guys who wore the high socks.
Same.
But yeah, I think he's underrated fielder. I mean, he won 4 Gold Gloves, but he was it 4 or 3? 3.
3.
But he probably could have won more. But there's been some good first basemen in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So you wanted to continue with the. Let us know, people. Do you think that Helton should be in the Hall of Fame? Do you think that Mauer deserved to go on the first ballot? And I don't want to hear it if you think that Beltre shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. So, let us know. Comments, text, whatever. You guys, most of you, our listeners, know us. And I don't have anything against any of the guys that are going in. I think it's pretty fair. Now, do you think that Billy Wagner should have gotten in? Because he missed it by a couple votes.
What ballot is he on at this point?
He's got one more left. So this was his 9th year. He received 73.8% of the vote. So he missed it by, I think he said they missed it by 5 votes, which is, it's interesting.
If you're going by his regular season stats, like his 422 saves and, his being a relief pitcher for that long, I would say yes, but his postseason and the big spot, he was terrible.
I agree. I don't have much to say on Billy, just because Philly fans kind of don't like Billy Wagner, because he kind of said, I can't remember exactly the controversy, but I believe he said something, and then he went to the Mets. And anytime that a Phillies player goes to the Mets, it's not really a good situation.
No.
So, I think he'll probably get in next year. I think last year on the ballot. Next year's not a super big competitive ballot. That was actually something I want to talk about later. But the next couple ballots aren't necessarily super star-studded in terms of guys that are deserving to be in. There's a lot of Hall of Very Good players.
There is.
So I think that Wagner probably gets above that 75% threshold. I don't think he's going to get like 80%. I think he'll get just enough to get in. And so, yeah. That's how I feel about Wagner. I agree with the postseason stats. Definitely a struggle.
Yeah.
And then Sheffield, who was on his last year on the ballot, did not make it. He only got 63.9%. He was trending well with the public ballots early on, but the private ballots tend to not be as welcoming to players. Not welcoming is not the right word. As popular, I guess, or just don't have as many guys on their ballot. They're much more like, I only want a couple players in type thing. So, yeah, I'll go with the list of all the players that received enough votes to stay on the ballot next year, and then we can talk about kind of the next year's ballot, and then how maybe voting will change coming up, because I know you want to talk about that. So how voting came out. So we had the 3 guys that made it. So Wagner received 73.8% of the vote. And again, people, you need 75 to get in. Sheffield got 63.9. Andrew Jones got 61.6.
That's high.
He's an interesting case.
That's high for him.
You think so? I grew up watching him go up against the Phillies, and I never viewed him as like, oh, I'm watching a Hall of Fame center fielder, but I feel like he could get in because of the longevity he had. He played a while. But yeah, he's an interesting case. We could talk about these guys for hours on hours about why this is bad, this is good.
He's another one of those who I think is in that very good category.
Yeah. Carlos Beltran, 57.1%. I think that would be higher if it wasn't for the Astros scandal, probably.
I agree
because
with that.
He probably should be into the Hall of Fame just based off his stats and also postseason. He's a very good postseason player.
Ask a Mets fan though.
Yeah, that's the only time. That's the only time. Talk about the Cardinals fan when he was with his numbers with the Cardinals when. A-Rod 34.8%. He's not getting in, people. It's just
nobody likes him. That's why.
No, but yeah, it's kind of weird. No one likes him just as a person, really, too. Like a lot of people just don't like his personality. He's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I think I told you one time he always uses his hands. Like he never stops moving his hands. It's like Ricky Bobby. He doesn't know what to do with his hands. Manny Ramirez 32.5%. Manny's not getting in, people. It's just not going to happen.
So either.
I don't think that they're going to get in. A-Rod or Manny's going to get in via the Voters Committee either. I don't think it's going to happen.
The Veterans Committee?
Yeah, what did I say? Committee?
Voters Committee.
This is the Voting Committee.
Yeah.
The Veterans Committee. So it's not going to happen, people. Sorry. And then my guy, Chase Utley, 28.8%. I can't remember if that was up or down from last year. I think it's a little bit down. I hope he trends upward. He's on that verge where he's not going to get into like the 8th, 9th, 10th ballot. I want to talk about that later.
We'll talk about
it. Omar Vizquel, 17.7%. He's not getting in.
He should just get in for how long he's been around.
Omar Vizquel.
Omar Vizquel.
Well, he also has that controversy now. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I know.
We won't talk about that, people. It's bad. He's not a good person.
Yeah.
Bobby Abreu, 14.8%. He is such an interesting case because he is much more of an advanced stats guy than like raw stats.
Though he's a fan favorite too.
Yeah, the Phillies love him. Nothing against him. It's just I think he's the wrong player he played in the wrong era. If he played in this era, he'd probably be a Hall of Famer, I think. His stats are much more attributed to the game today. Like he'd be an all-star, I think, in today's game. Jimmy Rollins, 14.8%. Jimmy's not going to get in. I don't think he's going to get in. He's on that verge of he's a really, really good shortstop, but he's the Phillies all-time hit leader, but he wasn't for average hitter. Like he had some pop. He was a good fielder, but he was never like a Hall of Fame shortstop.
Yeah.
I think, and that's coming as a Phillies fan. I love Jimmy. I think he's on the Hall of Very Good. Mm-hmm. Andy Pettitte, 13.5%. He's got a Hall of Fame pickoff move, but other than that, I don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, well, there's just postseason stats.
Yeah,
too,
postseason.
We'll keep going.
I
don't think he's getting any either.
No, Mark Burley, 8.3%. Mark Burley, I don't think he's getting in.
No.
He was a very good pitcher for a long time, but he was never like, oh yeah, I never really want to face Mark Burley type thing, but. Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod. 7.8%. He's interesting because I don't know what Wagner started off with, but K-Rod could get closer as years go on. I don't remember what year this is for the ballot for K-Rod, but he was one of the top closers for more than 10 years. I feel like close to 10 years.
For that consistent of a period?
I think so, yeah. I'm pretty sure, even when he went to the Mets, he was still good. He wasn't... Yeah. All right, Francisco... tangent here, people. Francisco. That's fun to say.
Well, while he's doing that, Torrey Hunter got 7.3%.
I love Torrey Hunter.
Fun to watch, but he's probably not getting it.
No, he's not getting it. I love Torrey Hunter's probably on, like, if I had to have a players that I want to have on my team of the Hall of Very Good, Torrey Hunter's my center fielder. I love Torrey Hunter so much. He's such a good guy. He's funny. He robbed Bonds during the All-Star game. That was awesome. So K-Rod, here's his numbers. Career 2.86 ERA in 437 saves and a whip of 1.15. So he's got over 400 saves. He led the league in saves three times. He had some when he was with the Mets. I believe he got injured or one or 2 years. I can't remember. 2011 when he got traded, I believe, to Milwaukee. Yeah. Saves 45, 47, 40, 62, 35, 25, 23.
And then it jumps up at the end of his career.
Yeah, then jumps up 44, 38, 44.
Yeah.
So he was an all-star, I think because he got traded a couple times during those years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, I think that probably had a factor in it. But he was an all-star late in his career with Milwaukee, 2014, 2015. So he was a very good closer for a long time. Now, I don't think that he's like, oh, yeah, he's a first, like, he should have been in higher votes type thing. But I didn't want to see K-Rod for when he was coming in. K-Rod was consistent, and I think that he deserves more votes. That's in my opinion. So, and then, Torrey Hunter got 7.3. I love Torrey Hunter. And then David Wright, Captain Met, 6.2%. So he's on the ballot. David Wright won't get in. He's if he didn't have his back problems, he probably was going to get in because he was just stand-up guy, classic, good player, kind of always just seemed to come up in the right spot at the right time, but just had bad luck with his back. So
yeah,
unfortunate with how it is. But and then here I actually have the guys that that didn't get any votes or received a couple of votes but are off the ballot. Jose Bautista, Victor Martinez, Bartolo Colon, Big Sexy that is, Matt Holliday, Adrian Gonzalez, Brandon Phillips, Jose Reyes, and James Shields are all off the ballot.
Ooh, Reyes and Shields didn't even get any.
No, no. Bartolo only got 5 votes. Come on, people.
Well, he's more of a meme than
popular.
A Hall of Fame pitcher. Though he did have his years. He won the Cy Young in 2005, I think, with the Angels.
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah.
So.
And he was crazy thin when he first started.
Yeah.
Like if you see his photos with Cleveland, he's a different man.
So Matt Holliday is an interesting case because he was such a good hitter and got on base a lot of time. He's also batting title, 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger, World Series champ, over 2,000 hits, over 300 home runs, over 1,200 RBIs, and an OPS of 889. So he only got, how many votes did I say that he got? He only got 4 votes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fairly interesting given how many accolades that guy has. And you didn't want to see Matt Holliday come up to the plate. He was annoying. He was good.
Was it because he didn't really field at all?
Maybe. I don't know. He was an outfielder, and then didn't he play first base at some point? Or DH a little bit. I can't remember when he went to. Did he DH in the Yankees?
He did, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So it's an interesting case for Holliday because I always liked him. He was always kind of that annoying player, like always came to come in clutch, and he's a big guy too. Mm-hmm. 6'4", 240. Good Lord. Mm-hmm. And now he's got his son, who's the number 1 prospect in baseball. So yeah, that's you wanted to talk about how the voting will change?
If that's what you want to do.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So how's the voting changing?
No, you said you wanted to talk. Like, did you want to bring?
Well, I want to talk about the mindset of the voting. Is that what you're talking about, or the way they're voting?
Yeah. Well, and we had people. We are on fire right now.
we're really on a roll here. Yeah. Really shooting from the hip.
Well, just go off tangents because I do believe that the voting is going to change with specifically pitchers.
Well, I think that's what I wanted to get to is the mindset, because I feel like I don't know if we've discussed this on the podcast before. We probably have, but when I've thought of Hall of Famers in the past, I've thought of guys who were throughout their entire careers, consistently like making all-star games, hitting 300 or like pitching below a certain ERA, like under 3 for like a majority of their career. It doesn't have to be their entire career, but like at least 10 seasons of that.
Yeah.
What I've noticed over like recently in the voting is guys who are consistently good, but in terms of like, making all-star games and hitting above certain marks, like the 300 mark or pitching below a certain ERA, it's like 5, 6, 7 seasons maybe.
Yeah.
So I feel like the voting has changed to not necessarily the length of that, but maybe I guess the quality of the years that they had. Like in those 5 or 6 years, were they the best at their position? And that's what I've really seen with the 3 guys that got in.
Yeah.
I think. Take a look at Mauer. He was a consistent catcher, but he kind of broke down toward the end. You can argue from, say, 2006, 2007 to 2012, 2013. He was at the very top of his position. Hall of Famer.
I agree.
But that is not a particularly long lifespan. Now you have to take that with a grain of salt because he is a catcher.
Yes.
And catchers are more injury prone. They don't last as long.
In
Mauer's case,
my knees are still hurting from catching in high school.
So at least in Mauer's case, I'll give him more of a pass.
Yeah.
But I think the example I really wanted to hone in on was Helton's.
Yeah.
Because Helton was at the top of his game really in the early 2000s.
Correct.
He played a couple of years before that, and then he played for a while after that, but he didn't make any All-Star games after 2004.
Correct.
Pujols
had something to do with that.
Well, he could still have made it in maybe like as a...
Yeah,
because you still have to send one guy from your team to the All-Star game.
Yeah, and Tulo came in. I don't remember when he came in. But I also think that the All-Star game has gotten turned into a popularity contest as well. It's like, who do you want to see? Because Harper has made one All-Star appearance for the Phillies. He has also won an MVP. But you have, I think that he should have been in a couple other times, but because he didn't get off to the hottest start. But there are other players that are more popular than Harper right now, just because they're like, I want to see this guy in the All-Star game type thing.
Are you talking about now or like even back?
I don't know when they started voting. When fans started voting in, because I remember one year it was all Cubs starting lineups, but Addison Russell didn't deserve to be starting shortstop for come on.
That was a weird time.
The fact that Addison Russell was a starting shortstop for the All-Star team that year, it's a popularity. Same thing with the Royals that one year or the A's that one year. It was just all a popularity thing. I don't think it's not my hot take, but I do not think that fans should be able to vote. I think it should be the players. They should vote their guys to the All-Star team and the coaches. I do not think that fans should do it because that affects this stuff right now that we're talking about, Hall of Fame type players. There's probably players we don't even know about that I'm trying to think of last year, guys that should have been All-Stars but weren't. Look at Michael Lorenzen. He didn't deserve to be an All-Star, but Detroit had to have someone in the All-Star game, which I'm starting to – I can't remember what my take was on that. That I think it's cool that everyone gets to have a player in the All-Star game, but would I rather have a guy that's on the fringe get in instead of a guy who actually deserves it for another team? Because it's not really like an actual All-Star. It's because MLB is the only team that does it, or MLB is the only league that does mandatory All-Stars for every team.
So I'm trying to figure out this is an exact time frame. No, I'm trying to figure out the fan voting stuff.
It definitely was. So it's before 2015, or 14. Can't remember when the Cubs.
Baseball fans vote on the starting position players for the All-Star game with ballots formerly distributed at Major League Baseball games before midseason, and as of 2015, exclusively on the internet. Well, that's on the internet.
Yeah. I think it was late. early 2010s. I think that's when I think it started.
That's my gut reaction.
Yeah. Now, obviously, that it doesn't affect what we're talking about with Helton, but I think it affects future guys.
So they did try it before in the past.
Okay.
Back in the 40s, they tried it, but there was an unfairness in the voting.
Exactly.
So they stopped it.
Yeah, exactly.
They did a write-in because they wanted some player named Rico Cardi in the All-Star game in 1970. They brought it back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess they done it since then? I don't feel like they...
Yeah.
I don't know.
So...
Well, player voting was reintroduced in 2003 after managers were criticized for picking players from their own team over more deserving players from other teams. This was particularly evident in 2002 when the National League manager Bob Brenly selected his own catcher Damian Miller over the more deserving Paul LaDuca. Wow, that's a throwback.
Oh, yeah.
While American League manager Joe Torre selected his own third baseman Robin Ventura. Oh, yeah, he was a Yankee. I forgot about that. Over the Oakland A's Gold Glove and Silver Slugger winning third baseman Eric Chavez.
Oh, yeah. Eric Chavez never was an all-star.
Yeah.
Gosh. Just random facts that I know, people. Eric Chavez was not an all-star, but he was
a six-time Gold Glover, though.
Yeah, he was a great player. Loved Eric Chavez. See, so there's bias no matter what. Even managers. So maybe the players should vote instead of having the fans vote. Because I feel like the fans... I don't know. This is just going to be like the top guy. I don't know. I have a little bit of a... I don't know how to exactly talk about it, but continue. Sorry for the tangent, people.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
And you make a fair point.
Yeah, of course I do.
About the fan voting part.
Yeah.
But I still feel like, even like when I'm looking at Baseball Reference right now, I can see at least that there's still that time frame where they're Hall of Famers.
Correct.
5-6 years.
Correct.
And they're still really good after that, but they have maybe a couple off seasons here and there, not necessarily as consistent after that. And you can't necessarily expect a player to, hit 330 every year for all their career. But
Correct.
What constitutes a Hall of Famer? That's my question.
Yeah.
And if we're going to start voting in that way, let's go back to Utley then.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're going to go by the criteria of players who were at the top of their game or one of the players at the top of their game for that period of time, then Utley should be in.
He's the best second baseman in baseball for at least 5-6 years.
Yeah, and if we're going to go off that, then yeah, he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But the argument is that, well, he wasn't the best for
10 years.
10 years or
I feel like 10 years is kind of like that, it was, and now I agree, it's like the 6-7 type year type thing.
I mean, let's look at the ballot for 2025.
Yeah.
For instance, you have King Felix.
Yeah.
Is on that ballot. He was really good for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Curtis Granderson's on that ballot. He's a good Hall of really good player, really.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Kinsler's on that ballot. Yeah, this isn't a great ballot.
Dustin Pedroia, Tulo,
CeCe Sabathia,
Hanley Ramirez, Russell Martin, Adam Jones, Brian McCann, Martin Prado. Yeah, those guys aren't. Those are their main.
But you do have CeCe Sabathia and Ichiro on that ballot.
Yeah, Ichiro will get in first ballot. CeCe should get in because he's got the 3,000 strikeouts, and he's also a pretty stand-up guy and been a lot with the community. So he's a good pitcher. He's definitely deserving. I don't know if he should get in first ballot. I feel like it's probably might get second or third ballot, depending upon how many votes they want to give out, but Ichiro should get in first ballot. So I think that's what I was actually going to talk about next is we'll talk about it quickly, but the next couple years really isn't a lot of like star-studded first ballot Hall of Famer type guys. Like you have Ichiro and you have CeCe. Those guys, Ichiro get in, CeCe might get in, but he's the only other guy that you think, oh yeah, he's probably a Hall of Famer. Then you go to 2026 ballot, and then that year it's really not anyone that deserves to be, I don't think, in the Hall of Fame. Cole Hamels will be his first year on the ballot. I don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's good, but he's Ryan Braun. He's a good player, but he had the steroid thing, so he's not getting in. And then you have Alex Gordon, Shin-Soo Choo, Edwin Encarnacion, Howie Kendrick. So that's the year where you see guys that are like Chase Utley, if Billy Wagner won't be on the list, but guys that are, they'll gain traction that year when they're on the ballot. And then 2027, I believe, is Posey's year. Buster Posey, Buster Posey, John Lester, Brett Gardner, Ryan Zimmerman, Kyle Seager. Posey will probably get in. I think he because he's got the World Series. He didn't play for the entire time, but I think as a catcher, he's got that MVP. Yeah. I think he'll get in, but I don't know if he'll get in first ballot.
I don't think he will.
But that's the first guy that's on that list that you think of being a Hall of Famer. John Lester's not a Hall of Famer, but so the next couple. Oh, you think John Lester should be a Hall of Famer?
No. Just finish your thought first.
Okay, so that's where I'm saying that those 2026 and 2027, those 2 years, you could see guys like Utley, K-Rod, all those guys just gain a lot of votes because there's not like that first ballot type player until Pujols comes in the following year. And Yachty, I believe.
Do you think that the committee has to vote in a Hall of Famer every year? Even if the ballot isn't top notch?
I think that they're so it's the Hall of Fame, so they have to be deserving of the Hall of Fame. I don't think that they're necessarily so. I think that there should be someone in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think that it's mandatory that they have to put. Do you know what I'm saying here? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I don't think that it's mandatory that that there should be someone every year, but I think there should be someone every year. Does that make sense to you? So I don't think it's their job. I don't think it's their job to be like, oh, hey, there's, Jim Edmonds is Mr. Hall of Famer, but we have to have someone in, so we're going to put him in. I don't think that's what their mindset should be. It should be, we should have someone in the Hall of Fame every year because it's good for baseball, and there's probably someone who actually deserves to be in the Hall of Fame that we're not paying attention to the most.
Yeah.
That's how I view it.
I agree. Yeah. Because... And here's where my ranting starts to come in a little bit. I'm not going to rant, but...
Do it. Rant.
Because I agree with you. And, there was a year, what happened recently, where I don't think anybody got in, right?
Yeah, it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, nobody got
in.
And I think that was needed because you need to have a standard when voting people into the Hall of Fame. And sometimes I feel like with some of these guys, not all of them, but some of them, it's just like they feel like we have to get someone in the Hall every year. We need to get someone in, even if it's like we're kind of stretching the statistics out a bit and their actual playing ability. Mm-hmm. And I feel like just as we're going along, we're going to start lowering. It's a part of the lowering the standards that's happening in baseball. So like the 300 average, the 500 home runs, the 3,000 strikeouts, those aren't really going to matter anymore.
No, if the voting is going to change in how we like DeGrom is a perfect example because he's been the best pitcher when he's healthy for the last 6-7 years, but it is not going to have the cumulative. That's the right word.
Yeah,
cumulative stats of other Hall of Famers. But DeGrom, when healthy, is the best pitcher in baseball, and I don't think there's any question about that, right?
Yes.
So. It's going to be interesting when he's on the ballot. If he can put together a couple more good years, is DeGrom going to be a Hall of Famer?
That's going to be a true litmus test, I think, for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And also, there's a lot of old head Hall of Fame writers that vote. So they're kind of stuck in their ways and don't want to vote for certain people. So it's a long conversation that we could have about that.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say about Hall of Fame?
It's a nice town, Cooperstown.
Oh yeah,
it's very nice. They got a nice old baseball field there. It's by a lake.
Yeah, it's
in the nestled in the mountains, sort of.
It's not like it's you go and you're going to a big city type thing and you're visiting a museum.
But it does kind of come out of nowhere.
It does. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at. Like it's not. It's you don't go to like a smaller city. Like King of Prussia, and it's just like there's a couple museums and like stuff like that. It's a small town. and there's like couple, like you're on a road and there's other buildings with shops and all this stuff, and then just right there in brick is the National Baseball Hall of Fame. You're like, holy crap, that's so cool. It's so cool. It's so well done, and everyone that worked there was so awesome, like super nice and super knew everything. I loved it. They gave my nephew like baseball cards. I was like, oh, this is great. Like I was just like, this is heaven. It is pretty much the closest thing I've gotten to heaven. It really is. It was so great. Yeah. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the Hall of Fame. We could talk about so much about it. We've already talked for a long time so far, and I have to get to my hot take.
All right.
So, let's see. My hot take is let's see, what was my hot take? I can't remember. I think my oh yeah, that's what it was. So it's kind of on relation to the Hall of Fame. So I was saying that Pujols is not on the ballot till 2028, I believe. Yes, 2028. And the only first ballot Hall of Famer that received unanimous voting was Mariano Rivera. I believe that Pujols will be the next unanimous 100 receive all the votes for the Hall of Fame. There's only been one, and that's because people don't think that a certain player deserves more votes over this person and this person over that person. Mariano Rivera is the only one that's been 100% vote. I think that Pujols will be the next person. He's got, I think he finished 300 career, close to 300. I think he struggled a little bit. So I think, he finished his career 296 batting average, but he was a 300 hitter for 95% of his career. 700 home runs. So he's in a very exclusive club there. Very, very exclusive.
Yes.
3,384 hits. Very exclusive club there. Over 100 WAR. Very exclusive club there. 2,218 RBIs. Very exclusive club there. 3-time MVP. 11-time All-Star. 2-time Gold Glove. Batting title. 2 World Series. Rook of the Year. 6-time Silver Slugger. I think he deserves... if there's someone... Why would anyone leave him off the ballot? Because of his struggles in Anaheim, and he had injuries with his knees. What happens when you're a 6'3", 6'4", 240-pound guy? Of course you're going to have struggles with your knees. He's also a stand-up guy, super big into charity. It's just, he deserves to be unanimous. You know something that he leads MLB history in?
Grounded into double plays.
426. He led the league in double plays four times. Oh my God, that's so bad. That's ridiculous. I mean, he was never a fast guy, but early on in his career, he was a solid, wasn't slow, but he wasn't fast. He had 16 stolen bases twice in his career, actually. He was actually good at it later in his career. He would steal just early, but I think yeah. I think he will be that's my it's a hot take. So it's not, it probably won't happen, but I think that's what should happen.
I don't think it's a super hot take. I don't know if it'll happen either, but I do think it is deserved if it does. Particularly when you compare him with the other people who are in the Hall of Fame, the similar batters.
Yeah.
When you get mentioned the same name as Hank Aaron and Willie Mays and Frank Robinson, Ken Griffey Jr.
Yep.
All those guys. Why shouldn't you be considered for the Hall of Fame unanimously? That's another thing too. I guess it's a counter hot take. It's like, why haven't there been more than just Mariano Rivera as unanimous Hall of Famers?
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe trying to think, Randy Johnson probably should have been up there with unanimous.
Yeah, like Willie Mays and Hank Aaron.
Speaking of Willie Mays, today San Francisco announced that today, 2/4/24, like the February 4th, for the rest of history, it is Willie Mays Day in San Francisco. So shout out to San Francisco doing something really cool.
For once.
For once. Because Willie Mays is... Did I draft him as my center fielder? I believe I did.
I think I might.
Oh, you did? Yeah. I can't remember my outfield, but I had Trout as my center field. That's right. Yeah. Willie Mays is one of the best players ever. Yes. I think he's top 5, top 10 player ever.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic player.
But he's not unanimous.
It's
and,
ridiculous.
And neither are all these other guys that are in the Hall of Fame except for Mariano Rivera.
Of course, they would put a Yankee as unanimous. Of course.
Well, to be fair,
Kev gave me a look.
there's no other discussion as to who the best reliever is.
Correct. I would agree.
I mean, there is discussions as to who maybe the best outfielder is or the best catcher, the best at the other positions.
Yeah.
I could see that as being the argument for why he's the only unanimous, but still, I would think that those other guys deserve the shot of the unanimous as well.
I'd agree. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. We agree. It's a hot take, people, but there's a little bit of agreement here. All right. I think that's a good way to end the Hall of Fame podcast. You think?
I think so.
All right, people. So thank you for listening. Let us know your opinions on Mauer, Helton, and Beltre, and yeah, we'll try to catch you later. Oh, actually, should we announce some exciting news? Given that maybe the next time that we record a podcast, I could possibly be moving somewhere.
Is it that exciting?
I mean,
well, it is. It's a big change.
it's a big change. So one of the reasons why Kev and I sometimes have a little bit of trouble with recording a podcast frequently is we have different time schedules with our work and life, but also we don't live together. But in end of February, I will be moving in to Kev's apartment, and so we will be living together, and hopefully we will be able to record podcasts a little more frequently because
for sure.
Because it's like he just has to knock on my door. Hey, do you want to record a podcast or something like that? Instead of texting and trying to figure out a schedule and all that. So yeah, that's exciting news that we have for you. So yeah, hopefully I know we're trying. We haven't been as consistent. We're trying. Also, baseball offseason hasn't been as great, and I keep saying we're gonna get guests on. So hopefully we're gonna try to do that a little more frequently. But we got some stuff in the works.
Yeah, we have a couple things coming down the pipeline. You know, having him here more often will definitely mean more episodes. Baseball season's technically starting in a couple of weeks with pitchers and catchers coming up.
Let's
spring
go!
Training.
I'm so excited.
Opening day is 50-something days, 40.
It's 54. It was 56. It was 55 or 56 the other day.
50-something days away.
Yeah.
So we're going to get back into the baseball groove finally when that comes around and we don't have to sit around watching a boring Super Bowl or something.
Oh my God. I'm not probably even watching. I might be going snowboarding.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't really care about Super Bowl this year. I don't care about football that much anymore. I really don't. I pretty much only love baseball.
Yeah.
And the Sixers, yeah, anyway. And it's
anyway, yeah.
Anyway, people. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you later.
Later.